Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, John Donovan.
Hey, Marty Keller.
Marty Keller here in Sacramento, welcoming everybody to the Intentional Living podcast with my friend and colleague and mentor, John Donovan, down in Oceanside, California. It's a beautiful California day here in Sacramento, and we're in between rainstorms. Got some rain coming in this weekend, but we're recording this on a Friday. What you got going down there in San Diego County?
Oh, sunshine, mid 70s.
Oh, San Diego weather.
Yeah.
It's always beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
friends, we have been uh, doing this podcast for, I think we're going to come up on our 6th year anniversary in a couple of months. And this is a podcast where we examine how to break patterns of behavior with that I say I don't want, and nonetheless continue to manifest, continue to do. In this podcast, we examine and uncover subconscious obstacles to what we want in our conscious minds. And we learn to befriend those obstacles to make them allies in creating and manifesting the life we actually want, not only in our conscious mind, but in the deepest parts of our heart and soul. And so this is based on just asking a couple of questions. Have you ever hurt someone you loved and later regretted it, and then hurt them again, often in the exact same way? Have you ever realized in the middle of an argument with someone that you were on the wrong side of that argument and continued to take that side anyway? Or
Right.
have you ever known that you were about to do or say something that you would regret? Maybe even heard a small little voice in your head saying, don't go there. And yet you found yourself unable or unwilling to stop. These are the kinds of behaviors that have sparked the work that we do here. We're all subject to them. We all have these subconscious, long-standing dynamics, psychodynamics in us coming from our childhood. And the Intentional Living podcast looks at these and offers ways to, like I said, befriend them, make them part of the creating the life that we want to live. And John, you're the founder of this work, and you've been working in this for over 25 years, a quarter of a century, for crying out
Hmm.
loud. That's a long time. And
Yep.
I've been doing this work with you for at least half that time.
Hmm.
And so one of the things that you and I have been doing for the past few months is we've been reviewing a number of principles that we have generated over the years through our experience and our insights into the process of this work. And I'm going to put those principles. Well, before I do that, any comments that you'd like to make before we get started?
Yeah, go ahead and pull them up on the screen.
Okay.
The basic material of what I call my body of work is what I found to assist me to move from addictive personality type to self-actualized. Um, um, Struggling through one of my addictions was alcoholism, avoidant behaviors, rageaholic, workaholic, codependency. And before my recovery and early into ways into my recovery, I would struggle with. I had quit drinking, and I thought everything should be okay now. And I discovered I had developed other patterns that that were discordant or caused separation. Uh, and in my own recovery work, I found what worked for me was identifying what was standing in my way, the obstacles, um, uh, and then the mechanism, the internal mechanism of choice making that led all my choices before my recovery, and again, well into my recovery, kept leading me back to a stuck pattern of behavior, and figured that out. And I offer this information. What are the obstacles? And then the mechanism, which is unresolved complex post-traumatic stress, buried in my subconscious that I don't have access to, and yet motivates my choices. And those choices led me to some place I didn't want to be. And our other episodes and podcasts, we talk about accountability tree, the cunning, baffling, powerful mechanism um, built into my neural patterns and brain, how that works for survival. And then we've come up with these principles, and they're statements um, that spark dialogue, that spark two people questioning, what does that mean? Um, the goal of my recovery, what I've come to find out, is to simply shift my perception. When I was in my addiction, my perception of myself in relationship to the world was that I was a victim somehow, some way, victim of the county, victim of job, work, to now my perception of myself is self-actualized and with the capacity to self-advocate or find resources when I'm struggling. I can find resources to bring relief or resolve to whatever the struggle is. So over the last several months, we've been going through these um, principles that bring out dialogue, which is self-examination. If I tell a person like that number one there, you're always getting what you want. And then they go, no, I don't want to be ridiculed. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to hurt people. And then we start the conversation about that mechanism I call the reticular activating system choice mechanism that's hooked into an old pattern belief from the childhood, which you were a victim, and brings clarity to the rationale why we're doing what we're doing, and bringing clarity to places that were baffling to us. So I don't know where we're at. We're way down the list by
Well,
now.
before we get there, John. So thanks for that summary. These another way to understand these is I think is what you said is through these things all offer us clarity either about what's going on in our subconscious mind, which constitutes maybe 95 to 99% of the human mind is in the
Yep.
subconscious. So by definition, even right now, as you and I are talking, there's all kinds of stuff going on in our minds of which we're not aware.
Correct.
But it's all operating smoothly and according to biological and psychological principles. Um, so these all help bring clarity to not only what's going on in my subconscious, but clarity as to what I can do about it. Um, so we started out, I think, back in November. So for those of you who are here for the first time, each one of these principles has a separate podcast that goes into them in depth. So if anyone catches your eye as something you'd like to check out more, just check out the podcast with the title. I'm always getting what I want. It's not about the other person. The issue is not the issue. People treat me the way I want them to. The quality of my life is determined by the focus of my attention. Life happens for me, not to me. What I resist persists. Hurt people hurt people. The world outside of me is but a reflection of the world inside of me. And its corollary, life is lived from the inside out. It doesn't have to make sense. That was a fun one. Trust the body. Life can be blame-free and judgment-free. Healing is contagious. The more conscious we are of what we choose, the more powerful the choice. And the last one we did last week, every thought has a corresponding body sensation. And each one of these, there's a reason why we put these here. We've developed them and we cite them. And like I said, I invite anybody interested in learning more about these to consult the relevant podcast. But today we're gonna take one that I know baffles some people already because we've shared this with some of our groups, and it's personalize everything. Don't take anything personally. And so,
Yeah.
what the heck does that mean, John?
Uh, let me give you a caveat. I did a custom license plate frame with this on it, and on the top of the frame it says personalized. No, no, I'm sorry. That's on the front of my car. On the front of my car, I have that around the license plate. On the back of my car, I have it's never about the other person. Um, that's just I don't know why I said that. I think I'm cool. So
Well,
uh,
consider the possibility you are.
what where oh personalize everything. Everything I see in you is true about me. Everything you see in me may or may not be true about me. I decide what's true about me. So I personalize everything, everything I see, everything I judge, everything I assign meaning to is me. That's my meaning. That's personal. I personalize that. When you assign meaning to me, I don't take that personal because you're assigning meaning to me that may or may not be true about me. Now, when I personalize you, like this guy's arrogant, well, he may be arrogant, but I, for me to see arrogance, I have to have experienced the concept of arrogance internally with me. It's part of me. So that's what that ultimately means. Everything I see outside of myself is a reflection of me somehow, some way. Everything you see about me outside of yourself, I don't take personal. Now, there may be a kernel of truth about what you see in me. I determine that. If you say, John, you're arrogant, I'm going to, number one, know 100%, depending on how you tell me that. If you tell me that with a lot of intensity and energy, like vehemence, I know there's an arrogant issue that you're working on. That's just what I know. Because I used to call other people, oh, that's an arrogant asshole, because I hadn't recognized the arrogance in myself. Um, I may, like, well, yeah, yeah, I'm arrogant. I'm working through it. I appreciate the feedback. It doesn't. I'm not wounded by it, nor I need to defend it because I've worked on it myself. Um, um, so yeah, anything I see in you that's telling me everything I need to know about me. Everything you see in me is telling you the same thing. Everything you need to know about you. Some of it is I'll accept. I determine the truth in what you see in me. What part of that is true, if any, or all. I don't know. That's what I mean by personalize everything. Don't take anything personal. If I take what you say personal, like John, you're arrogant, and I defend myself, well, there's a part of me that I'm missing. I haven't looked at. One of the things I don't even know if we have this as a principle. It may be a principle that we add. When I'm defending myself, I'm participating in my own oppression. I don't think we got that one, huh? That's a principle. That's one of my basic principles. When I'm defending myself, I'm participating in my own oppression. In other words, I have issue with what you're saying I am. Um, so I know that when I'm defensive or deflecting something, there's a kernel of truth in what that person's projecting about me, which now for me is an opportunity to own some unconscious, unresolved childhood trauma that formulated a, criticism of myself that's being held in my subconscious that I don't know. The only way I could know that is by the behavior I engage in. If I engage in arrogant behavior, there was a message in my childhood where I now think arrogance is a good thing for me to do, whether it's about safety or being right or whatever the wounding said I needed to do to survive. So I manifest that. I know that now. So when I like you're arrogant, get flustered. Oh, thank you for that. Now I see there's something unresolved in my subconscious, unresolved post-traumatic stress that I am now going to address. I'm going to own that. I'm arrogant. I do the accountability tree process that we talk about. Own that character defect. Lean free judgment tree. Take a nice deep breath. I'm arrogant, and then create what I want instead of that specific to the arrogance. I intend to be kind. I intend to be gracious. And that conscious intent goes into the subconscious as a directive for me to manifest graciousness and kindness, which is exactly the way it worked in my childhood when what was projected onto my child was selfishness, inconsiderate, stupid. It just simply said yes, and then I did stupid stuff in my adulthood, and then I had to explain it because I didn't know that there was a subconscious manifestation, and rationalize this behavior. And the only two reasons that make any sense is I'm wrong, I'm bad, or you're wrong, you're bad. And that there became my goal in life is to prove myself right or prove you wrong, or uh, back and forth. No resolution. So now
Well,
I have
interestingly enough,
resolution.
I don't know if this is getting off the beaten track here, so corral me if, but what that behavior actually really does is it keeps me safe
Yes.
because it keeps you at a distance. So love, which we are born craving, desiring, and expecting, shows up in those initial years, 0 to 1, 0 to 4, before we can
Yeah.
think about it, before we have rational choice. However, it shows up, and if it shows up in the main as more painful than happy, then
Yeah.
we are going to develop a defense that in our adult lives manifests in these behaviors to keep people at a distance because people are dangerous. Even
Yeah.
though I need you, I want you to love me and participate in my social well being.
Yes.
And so this comes back to our principle that in order for me to really be in relationship with you or anybody else, I need to first be in relationship with myself.
Yes.
And so I need to be able to see how I personalize everything,
Yeah.
how I see things through the lens of my own personal belief system, which is subconscious and hidden from us, and like you say, until we have the tools to be able to see it as an object of our own awareness.
Yeah. Perception based on the lie of our childhood, what we were told we were. And children, and most people understand this or know about this, that children are in a theta state where they just pick up energy and cues. And we're built that way as human beings. It's not an accident, or it's not because we're in recovery that this happens. For children to be enculturated into a society, they need to pick up like 10,467 different unspoken cues to manage the culture. And that's where we pick them
And
up.
to integrate them into a network of behavior.
Correct. Exactly. Very complicated process. When we're mirrored by healthy, nurturing, loving people, we become as they are, loving, caring, nurturing, through the awareness of self, because they mirror us back to us. My parents had no idea that was happening. They thought I was a pain in the ass. Well, probably when I turned 4 or 5, when I could start running around throwing stuff, breaking things. I don't know. And they had their thing they had to do: food, shelter, clothing, plus their own animosity towards each other. And voila, here I am, based on their perception of me and their perception of self. My dad was a self-deprecating alcoholic, and my mom, on a couch as a flaming codependent type. Like, what do I need to do to make him happy? He was never happy, so that's where I learned how to relate. I picked up one or both and manifested them, just like I would have picked up them mirroring me. The good news is I started doing that myself. That's what this accountability tree, that's also what the 12-step program, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Other Dysfunctions, has taught me to do, is to become that loving parent that I didn't have. And one of the ways I made it practical for me is this accountability process where I state the truth, the end result of my trauma, which is alcoholic, avoidant behaviors. Just own it, blame free, judgment free. Of course, I'm an alcoholic based on where I came from. Nice deep breath. I intend to be sober. I intend to be kind. And that's the mirroring. And I'm building the foundation that wasn't there in my infancy, young childhood, preteens, where I learned trust. I learned value, my own value, worth, and I learned attachment, how to be attached without being clingy, or how to, like, my attachment style was avoidant. I avoided any attachment. How to be interdependent in the attachment style and healthy. I rebuilt that foundation that wasn't mirrored for me as a child, and we do that through the practices we learn in intentional living, one of them being the accountability tree. Another one is engaging in conversations where we got these principles that at first make no sense, or like kind of work at them, and it creates this dialogue, and um, we grow together.
And there's a third way, which is a combination of those two, which is in the group setting where we
Yeah.
participate in a group of like-minded people who have the same goal. Just as in Alcoholics Anonymous, we all have the same goal of getting and maintaining our sobriety. So
Mm-hmm.
the group helps us do that. In intentional living groups, which anybody who's watching us can join us because they're all on Zoom. Um, we receive the loving support of all the other folks who are doing the same thing that we are, seeking to understand those inner
Yeah.
dynamics and to befriend them, and using the accountability tree practice, about which we have many podcasts. So we're not going
Yeah.
to go into that in detail here, but it's that process to help me access the subconscious, particularly feeling states that often uh, cue behaviors that we talk about at the beginning of each podcast, those behaviors I say I don't want, and yet I end up doing.
Right. Yeah, stuck in those patterns of behaviors. And the subconscious, people talk about this, conscious, subconscious, and Jung or Freud gets into the super. I don't know what that is, but I do know the subconscious. We talk about subconscious like we don't know or it doesn't know. No, the subconscious holds information in the form of an experience that we had, and it's on alert, especially an experience that was traumatic or hurtful. So that it has that frequency, and it's got a infinite number of, I don't say infinite number, as many traumas as we have, it has that many different frequencies or combinations. Okay. So when something happens in our current reality that feels the same, this is alerted. Reticular activating system activates us to move towards safety. Now, before my recovery, the way I moved to safety was by screaming, yelling at somebody, or attacking them, hitting them, or leaving. I'm out of here. I can't take this. This is too much for me. I'll see you later. I don't want to do this, and leave. Instead of engaging as an adult in conflict resolution, I used to think conflict resolution was not being bad, like not having any conflict. But what I've come to understand is conflict, if I engage in conflict in a healthy adult way, I resolution is clarity. I come to clarity about what the concern is, whether it's what are we eating for dinner, how do we spend our money, How do we talk to our children? It's all those things. In that conflict, I come to clarity around the behavior I want. So conflict resolution now is something I want to engage in a healthy way so I can expand and grow. Before my recovery, none, zero conflict resolution. What it meant to me was stop the darn conflict, no more conflict. But that's not what it means. It means engaging in conflict to gain resolution and to learn and grow. Oh, I can do that. Okay, that makes sense to me now. So I stay present instead of personal, like somebody would say to me, well, you always do that. Oh, I'm not going to take that personal. I see you're upset. What is it you're trying to tell me? I want you to know I'm listening to whatever the situation might promote or need in that situation. I can address it, okay? Or I can see why you're angry. I told you I would do this and I didn't do it. I didn't call you. I left you hanging. I can see why you're upset and concerned. And that's conflict resolution. Where before, if I took it personal, then it was I was bad. Then you don't love me because I'm bad. So I got to prove to you I'm okay by telling you don't talk to me that way or engaging in reactive behavior.
Or explaining.
Explaining. That's that when I'm defending myself.
Right.
I'm participating. We're going to add that.
But there's a couple of things that I'd just like to point out that showed up as you were sharing the understanding of this principle. So the principle is personalize everything, don't take anything personally. And
Correct.
first of all, the personalize everything part of this is it shows up to me as a version or another way of saying the world outside of me is but a reflection of the world inside of me.
Yep.
And the other principle that we have is this life is lived from the inside out. So
Yep. Yep.
personalize everything is to notice, be willing to own the fact that the way I see the world is my invention, my
Yep.
collaboration.
Yep.
I may
Yep.
have had help in creating the way that I see the world, but it's a way to see the world that I have subconsciously not only agreed to, but now I've become cathected to. I've become addicted to it. It's like it's absolute correct. My
Yep.
framing is absolute. This is one of our challenges as humans is that we have to have a framing, and until we see it otherwise, we're just going to assume the way we see things is the way to see things. And that's one of the reasons that there's so much conflict in the world, because when
No.
my way to see things is different from the way you see things, and we don't have a way to respect the mutual framing, I'm just going to assume you're wrong and I'm right.
Yeah. Yep.
And if I can't come
Yep.
to some
One
kind
of
of agreement with you, we're gonna have violence of some kind.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Part of what this specific principle has offered me, along with the other ones too, is a mixture of this, is to no longer categorize things as good or bad, right or wrong. They are what they are, and what do I want? Which is a whole different perception of addressing. Um, I've even come to the point where I've actually created the intent not to do good in the world. That was somebody's idea of what that should be, my idea of that, because we live in a polarity so that when you do this, you also get an equal and opposite this. So if I'm always trying to do good, there's something that's going to balance that out. Now, my example of this is Gandhi is one of my teachers, and I studied him, listened to him. He was a strong little character. I mean, everybody thinks Gandhi's this, like passive. No, he wasn't passive at all.
No, no.
And he was trying to do good. Now, the good he was trying to do for India at large which was significant. I'm not taking away from what he did or his mission. The corresponding evil or bad that's come out of it is what was then India is now 3 states: Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India. And there's been more conflict since that construct or that liberation of India from Britain than was before. And what I can see, what I can perceive, the amount of strife has equaled out his amount of good. So I don't want to do good, and that may sound callous. What I have in the back of my mind is, instead of doing good, what I think is good, or judging something as good or bad, I intend to act authentically. Now, that authentic action, being I'm not couching it as good, I'm hoping it has an equal and opposite authenticity arise too. Authentic. If we can get out of this concept of right, wrong, good, bad, um, I believe, I sense that there would be a lot less strife on the planet. I think the most damaging statement you can tell a child is, be a good boy or be a good girl. In my attempt to be that good boy that I perceived my parents wanted, in my early adult life, I wreaked havoc, thinking I was doing good. I go to work every day. In fact, I do all the overtime. I don't get any respect. I'm working my ass off, and I don't get any kudos for this. I come home, there's chaos. It's like, and I was righteously doling out punishment for what I thought was an injustice. And it was my choice to go. I can choose to go to work, and I did. Nobody owes me anything. I'm doing this by choice. I do it by choice now. Nobody owes me anything. Oh, wow, this is way different. In my early adulthood, thought a man was produce, provide, and keep safe. But I thought there was kudos for that. It's like, you owe me something because I'm doing this. Right now in my adult elder life, I produce, I provide, I keep people safe. But nobody owes me anything. I choose to do those things. I choose to do those things because I can. Uh, my daughter came up to me 2 years ago. She's 48, so 46. Said, "Dad, there's something I want to tell you." I said, "What's that?" "I want you to know I feel safe around you." Oh my God, this shit works. Oh my God. Because I had no requirement that because I'm here, she needs to. No, I'm here. I do what I do. I hold my energy. I provide and protect and keep safe. And you don't owe me anything. And she spontaneously offered me a feedback that that's what she felt. That's authentic. That's authentic. Me thinking I deserve kudos for those three things is, I'm good, I deserve, or you're bad because you don't whatever the good bad part is. So I'm for, not, we can't like eliminate those words, good bad, something like some foods taste really good, on the palate. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about my idea of right, wrong, good, bad. One of my intents, Marty, is I intend to be opinion free. I want you to know I'm still experiencing the results of that intent. Um, and I see the value in me being opinion free. So
Well, you just dropped, I don't know, five ginormous themes on us here at the end of our time together. Thanks a lot for that, John. Um,
You're welcome. That's what I do best, Marty.
I know. Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah,
like that's
yeah. So, well, I think we have to take this up next week. I think there's way too much to be left just hanging there. And so, if those of you who are watching want to hear more about these themes that John just raised, tune in to us next week. We'll explore these in greater detail.
you
Um,
got it.
and before we ring off, it's like I hinted in the middle of the podcast. We do this work in group, the intentional living practice, and there are 4 group meetings a week, all on Zoom and at different times of the day.
Mhm.
As I said, different days of the week. The information on how to get access to these meetings and when they are was at the beginning of the podcast and also at the end. So please feel free. Talk much. Feel free to check it out and join us. We'd love to have you come ask questions. If you hear anything on these podcasts that you would like more explanation about or you don't agree with or whatever, please feel free to come to the meetings and raise it with one of the facilitators. John does his on Saturday mornings. I do mine on Wednesday afternoons, all Pacific time. So please check us out. And
Got
so,
it.
John, as always, thank you very much. And I look forward to continuing this conversation.
Yeah, me too. I do. I get excited about this. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. See you, everybody.
Uh huh.